Okay, so I am just going to jump right in. I'm Bobby, and these are my rough sketches for Tartuffe, a play by Molière set in France in 1660s. It's a comedy, and y'all know the deal. Um, Again, I usually would prepare these kinds of things, but um, I'm just gonna wing it because I don't have the capacity right now to actually like script it all out. So here you go. Okay, so in no particular order, I'll start with Madame Pernelle. And so I'm not sure how the lighting is up. So here's my Madame Pernelle. She's Orgon's mother. I pictured her as rigid and with moral authority. She represents traditional religion, conservatism. Her silhouette, I thought, as structured bodice and full skirt, emphasizing rigidity, high lace collar framing, the face to reinforce stern authority. And so she would have lots of those fabrics were restricted to the upper class during this time period. And so while she would want to remain, modest, her color palette would be dark reds, purples, and black. The religious artifacts that she would carry, a Bible and rosary, those sorts of things would demonstrate um, her devotion. And upright stance. I chose for her a pose that I thought was commanding, sort of a gesture with her extended arm reinforces her judgment and personality. Uh, Heavy fabrics, and so I'm thinking of, heavy fabrics to symbolize the weight of tradition that she imposes on the household. Um, I imagine balancing or age and authority and religious symbolism. Um, I'm very proud of the structure of the costume that reinforces her judgmental character. Okay, next is, again, in no particular order, Dorine. And so, checking to see if the lighting is gonna come up. So when I was drafting Doreen, I was started off drawing actually a different character, and I was going to put a fan in their hand, and then I realized that I was actually on Doreen, and I didn't I didn't want to go back and redraw that, so I just put a bell, and I thought maybe because like she's answering to the bell, but so that's why she's holding a bell. So Doreen is Mariane's maid. She's sharp-tongued, and I tried to give him facial expressions. I did think I did better on faces this time. I got a little bit better with practice on the faces. I struggled this time with feet, shoes. Oh my gosh, I don't know why. I tried drawing shoes. It was just terrible sometimes. Sometimes I got lucky. Same thing with hands. Uh, for this design, I'm imagining a practical bodice and skirt allowing full movement. So she's, working person. She's not going to have any fancy fabrics or colors. She wouldn't be allowed to, and they just wouldn't be practical for her job. So she would be wearing durable linen and wool, typically of a servant at that time, an apron. So, always, no matter what she's wearing underneath, always the apron. I imagine her in earth tones, brown, russet, olive, sort of a neutral palette, which distinguishes her from the aristocratic characters that she works for. I wanted her pose in this rendering to be sort of confident with one hand on the hip, and body language that conveys boldness and authority despite lower social rank. The costume reinforces class reification while allowing Dorine to physically dominate the stage through movement. So you might remember that I talked about how in my designing these and researching them, figuring out that these people how you design the costumes for this is going to affect their movement in the space, right? And so it's really important that her movement, as well as Demi later on, their clothing is much less restrictive than the other characters. Speaking of restrictive clothing now, this is my favorite and probably the one that I'm most proud of. And this is Mariane. Let's see. So, I was, as you can see right off the bat, I was really proud of the design on the dress here on the I forget what they call it. It's the damask or whatever. Or no, maybe that's this part up here. But this sort of skirt here. And this I imagine as being like these embroidered fabric. Well, this would be embroidered. This would probably be a pattern. The color's not really represented well in this black and white because this part here is going to be kind of like a powder blue. And this design would be silver, that silver wrapped thread that they talked about. And this would also be embroidered in this would be white, and this would probably be embroidered in a blue silver color as well. Multiple levels of lace coming out of her sleeves. That sort of plunging neckline, the bows everywhere, bows. But she's got a much more narrow silhouette than a lot of the others. I wanted to give her sort of a youthful face. So I reddened her cheeks around this part instead of giving her blush in here. Try and perk her up a little bit. Yeah, so that is, oh, and then the bouquet. I did the bouquet because I want to kind of balance this frame here. I don't know. I thought it would have a nice line to it. Phew. Okay. And this is Valère. Let's see if I can get this in the frame. Valère. You can't really see. This is one thing I thought was really cool about this. I don't think the camera here is showing it very well, but you can see it in the drawing that the texture of the water of this is like watercolor paper. And the texture of the watercolor actually gives the coat his justicore. This is what this coat is called. Uh, a very nice texture. Um, his color palette, I'm thinking rich blues, burgundy with metallic accents, similar to the dress on Mariane. Um, yeah, so they would have elements of each other in them. I like doing that with, I guess, last couple of designs. I like having like that yin yang thing. Maybe it's a trademark. I don't know. So he would have a very nice justaucore, his sword, because he's valiant and young, and he would have lace to show off his status. And for his breeches here, I wanted to give him sort of like these fancy garish striped breeches. Very nice fabric here and very nice shoes. This vest here would be patterned, and then he's got this what do they call these things? Not ascot. I wrote it down. I can't remember what they call these things, but I'll tell you later, or you can look it up. And the hat, when I first drew him, I forgot to draw a hat for him, and then I was looking back, I was like, something's missing, and so I had to draw the hat afterward. So if the hat's a little bit sloppy, I guess that's probably why. But yeah, so that is my Valère. I hope this is going okay. This is Orgon, and he's kind of your typical, he's kind of like the patriarch of the house. But man, I mean, when you're researching this show and the way they dress, this is just like so typical of he would be dressed like he doesn't want to stand out. He just wants to, but he wants to fit in, but he also he doesn't want to draw attention to himself, except for the right kind of attention, which is why he's all like up in arms over Tartuffe. And so yeah, his silhouette much more stocky, as you can see, as I did this a lot of the men, he would have this cane um, status, right? A lot of men carried a cane at this time as a symbol of status, even though they didn't really require one. One thing you'll see here, a mistake that I just noticed. I'll have to fix it in the final draft, but that's why this is rough. On this sleeve here, I drew the cuff with the buttons on it. And I forgot to draw that on this one. So fiddlesticks. But that's why these were rough drafts, right? And I wanted his breeches to have sort of like this kind of like crisscross pattern on them. Um, Same kind of hat as Valère with the feather coming out. Although this one I included in the design, so that's why this one's better than Valère's hat. He would have a very, very nice lace collar, but not high, kind of a flat, low lace collar and a stupid thingamajig. I can't remember what it's called. Picot, a pic. I can't remember. It's not an ascot. It's something else. Cravat. It's a cravat. Thank goodness. Yeah. So this, and he would also have very nice shoes. Uh, and I don't know why. I put him in a mustache. I just figured, and Valère too. Valère, I saw him. I guess maybe thinking of like the Three Musketeers for some reason. I don't know why. But anyway, that is Orgon and Demi. So I just got bored with drawing the figures. I got this little guy here to help me kind of like, map out um certain poses. But um I just wanted to do something different with his pose because he's kind of like aggressive. He's the first one to really call out Tartuffe, and um so I wanted to show him as being kind of aggressive. It's kind of weird. Again, I've never drawn my whole life. This is just all new to me. So um I'm surprised at what's coming out. But I it's kind of costumey. He has a similar kind of silhouette where he's kind of stocky. You got those uh when I did the eight head figure, it was kind of like, hmm, I don't know. I had to kind of like squeeze everything in to get him just right. But I also had a really hard time on his hand here, the one that's holding the sword. Um, but his clothing would also not be as restricted. You can see his vest is partially unbuttoned, and his chest is exposed. I tried to draw it. You can't really see it here, but like he's got some chest hair down there just because I wanted to have him having like a bare chest under there or his open shirt. Because he's that raw kind of thing, energy. Yeah. And so that is Demi. And then we have two more. Elmire and Orgon's wife. And kind of like Orgon, um, she is like just generic, straight up textbook 1660s France, you know? But she's more sensible than like Lady Parnell or Madame Parnell. She doesn't have, she's got a bustle, or what do they call these things? Bustier on, but she doesn't have the deep plunging silhouette as like Madame Pernelle, or as Marianne have. So she's much more practical. But she still has lace. She's got her fan because that's her prop. Um, uh, it allows her to gossip with. And yeah, her pearls. She's got her pearls, very status. Her pose, I wanted to have her with that same kind of silhouette as like not as, obviously not as stocky um as Dorine, but not as narrow as Marianne. Trying to keep everybody's names. So she's kind of basic. I think I'm gonna do more with her dress. Uh, I'm gonna do more with this one in the final rendering, but this is just, you know, getting started. And then last but not least, Tartuffe. Good old Tartuffe. It looks a bit like Jesus in this rendering. I don't know. I guess I thought he would like on purpose try to look like, white Jesus. So that's why I gave him a beard. And I drew some wrinkles on his face because I wanted him to look a little bit aged. Yes, he's got two crosses, one around his neck, and then he's got the rosary that he carries with him. That's on purpose. His tunic or his robe here, as you can see, it's just one big long piece, all buttons right down the middle. And it's going to be black, um, with, plumes of subtle crimson accents in there. Maybe like the buttons, part of the buttons, or maybe even just the crosses, and a very modest lace collar. Um, Kind of boring, actually, as far as costume goes. But I think that's his intent, right? He wants to seem like what, me? Who would suspect me, right? So, one thing that I'm concerned about when I get to do these, so pencil is really great. Drawing in watercolor has been challenging for me, especially with brushes and trying to mix colors and all that sort of thing. So I got myself some watercolor pens. I don't know if you've ever seen those, like they're watercolor markers. We'll see how those do. Hopefully that will help. But I'm worried that a lot of the detail that I'm putting in to these, designs is going to wash out when if I draw them first in color and then try to paint over them with watercolor, like a lot of this is going to wash out, you know. So I guess I'll have to like paint the watercolor first and then let it dry. That's the thing, let it dry. And then I'll use it to see if maybe a different medium over that to kind of create these designs. But anyway, wish me luck. Thanks for watching.